Hey, this is Neil's on Dynasty. Buy silver, platinum, and some crystallized osmium. Don't listen to me. Everything I say is be taken as bull crap. Uh, this is for fun, not profit or health. And yeah, that's the disclaimers out of the way. Had to get the disclaimers out of the way. You know how it goes. Let's see here. This is from Sky News Australia. Something interesting has happened. It's very important for veterans. Been a lot of people have been trying to push this for quite some time, and it looks like Joe finally got it done. Let's see what it's about.
So this week, I want podcaster Joe Rogan, Health Secretary RFK Jr., and the President of the United States Donald Trump, because as of this weekend, research into psychedelic drugs specifically to treat mental health disorders has been fast-tracked in the US. Here is Joe Rogan explaining just how quickly the president moved on this.
I sent President Trump some information. We have a gigantic opiate problem in this country, obviously. In 2024, more than 80,000 people died of overdoses. It's a horrible number. And there's more than 5 million people that are addicted to opiates right now in this country. With one dose of Ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free of that addiction. With 2 doses, it's more than 90%. I sent him that information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it.
Let's do it. A text message. I mean, the man gets things done quickly. And personally, I'm all for research into this to be fast-tracked. So this executive order that Trump has signed means that research into psychedelic substances such as Ibogaine and LSD will be accelerated. And I'm really interested in these results because this could be very successful in treating addiction as well as treating other mental health conditions such as PTSD. And although I'm sure there are plenty of people and plenty of companies that wouldn't want this research to go ahead, credit to Joe Rogan for pushing this, and credit to RFK Jr. leading the MAHA movement, aiming to expand access to alternative mental health treatments. And credit also, of course, to President Donald Trump for acting on this so quickly. What we are seeing happen right now inside the White House is a win. It's not just a policy shift. This is what it looks like when Americans are listened to. And as we know, many have been ignored, dismissed, ridiculed for far too long. And now we have someone who's actually listening and making things happen. President Trump said at the official Oval Office event, experimental treatments have shown life-changing potential for those suffering from severe mental illness and depression, including our cherished veterans. So that is what we have heard from President Trump. But as you know, with Donald Trump, he's also unpredictable, and he also likes to go off script. So here he is, making everyone, including Joe Rogan, laugh out loud.
Said, and he happens to be on this Ozempic, I guess, at the time, and it was not working, by the way. The guy was extremely successful, but highly neurotic. Got a lot of problems. I will not mention his name. He's begging me not to mention it because he's become quite famous. He's a big factor here. But he's very smart, very rich guy, very, very successful guy.
You just never know what you're going to get, do you?
Obviously,
now, although the media wants you to focus on everything that is wrong with the president, and yes, he's far from perfect, absolutely, but he is following through many of his promises, and plenty of his achievements have happened so quickly that everyone's already moved on from them. I mean, the border's closed, fentanyl trafficking has been reduced dramatically, and any service members who lost their job because they refused the COVID jab have been reinstated with full back pay. I mean, plenty of promises they have been kept. Another promise that the president made is to release files on UFOs and aliens, something I'm personally very interested in. Here he is insisting that those files will be released very soon.
To begin releasing government files relating to UFOs and unexplained aerial phenomena. And I figured this was a good crowd because I know you people, you're really into that. I don't know if I am, but so I'm pleased to report today. I thought I'd save it for this crowd because you're a little bit out there, a little bit. that this process is well underway, and we found many very interesting documents, I must say. And the first releases will begin very, very soon. So you can go out and see if that phenomena is correct. You'll figure it out. Let me know. Let me know. But we've had a lot of questions. It's something that really captivates the mind.
How much are we going to learn? Look, I'm not sure, but it's likely that we're going to be learning more than what other leaders have been willing to share with us. And just while we're on the topic of UFOs and space, how incredible is this iPhone vision? This has been shared by astronaut Reed Wiseman.
It's the Earth going, cresting the moon. That's a cool shot.
Would you look at that, man?
Wow, what's the shadow behind it? It's different.
Wow.
The Earth is sitting on the moon. That's a shot you don't see every day, especially if you're a flat earther and flat moon. Anyhow, that was kind of cool. Wanted to start off the show with that. Again, wait, whoa, is it? No, I don't think I did. I have not pinned it to the top yet. I usually do this right off the bat, but I haven't gone live for a while, so it's now pinned to the top. If anyone wants to hop up and run your old mouths, I'm more than welcome it. Let's see what else I wanted to bring y'all. Let's see here. Oh. Okay, this is why you should never, ever, ever listen to people like Dr. Fauci, who says, believe the science. Because science, the one thing about science that is true and always will be true, it always changes. It is never the same. And this is a little report here on exactly that, saying how science changes. It says, changes everything. Science just confirmed the universe doesn't match our models.
For years, scientists have been refining one of the most important measurements in cosmology: how fast the universe is expanding. Recent studies have now reached an unprecedented level of precision, but instead of resolving the issue, they've confirmed a persistent mismatch between different methods. This growing discrepancy, known as the Hubble tension, is becoming harder to explain and may point to gaps in our current models. In this video, we will explore the latest findings, why they matter, and what they could mean for our understanding of the universe. International study set out to answer a straightforward question. Can we finally measure the universe's expansion rate precisely enough to resolve the long-standing disagreement between different methods? To address this, researchers combined several independent observational techniques into a unified statistical framework. Instead of treating each method in isolation, they integrated multiple data sets to improve consistency and reduce uncertainty. This approach allowed them to test whether any single method was biasing the results. The outcome was a highly precise value for the expansion rate, approximately 73.5 kilometers per second per megaparsec, with an uncertainty of around 1%. This level of precision represents a significant step forward in observational cosmology. What makes this result particularly important is its stability. When individual data sets or measurement techniques were removed from the analysis, the final value remained largely unchanged. This indicates that the result is not driven by a single method or observational bias, but reflects a consistent pattern across independent approaches. However, this measurement does not match predictions derived from observations of the early universe. Models based on the cosmic microwave background, which describe conditions shortly after the Big Bang, consistently point to a lower expansion rate, around 67 kilometers per second per megaparsec. This gap between early universe predictions and late universe observations is not new, but the latest findings strengthen it. With improved precision and cross-validated methods, the discrepancy now appears more robust than before. At this stage, the key outcome is not just a more accurate number, it is the confirmation that the disagreement persists even under tighter constraints. The Hubble tension is no longer a tentative issue. It is a well-established feature of current measurements.
Cool little dramatic music they got.
The significance of this tension lies in what it reveals about the current framework used to describe the universe. The standard cosmological model has been highly successful in explaining a wide range.
See, what gets me is all these little dots you see. Each dot is like the Milky Way with millions of freaking planets on it, each dot. And we think we're the ones that are living in all of that. That blows me away.
Range of observations, from the large-scale structure of galaxies to the behavior of cosmic background radiation. It provides a coherent picture of how the universe evolved over time. Within this model, the expansion rate is not an isolated parameter. It is tied to the conditions of the early universe and influenced by components such as dark matter and dark energy. Because of this, measurements of the expansion rate derived from early universe observations should align with those made directly in the present-day universe. The fact that they do not suggest that something in this framework may be incomplete. The discrepancy is now large enough that it cannot be attributed to statistical fluctuations. Instead, it points to a deeper issue in how the model connects early and late cosmic evolution. Several explanations have been proposed to address this gap. One possibility is that dark energy, which drives the accelerated expansion of the universe, may not behave as a constant force. If its properties change over time, it could affect the expansion rate differently at various stages of cosmic history. Another idea is that additional components existed in the early universe that are not currently accounted for. These could include unknown particles or forms of energy that influence the rate of expansion shortly after the Big Bang.
That one's highly probable.
Even a small contribution from such components could shift the predicted value of the expansion rate. There are also proposals involving modifications to gravity on cosmic scales. While general relativity has been extensively tested, its application at the largest scales of the universe remains an area of active investigation. Changes to gravitational behavior could alter how expansion is interpreted across different epochs. What makes these possibilities significant is not just their diversity, but the fact that simpler explanations are becoming less viable.
Let's see, another thing I'll tell you on this model right here is this model is based off a 13.5 billion year cycle, and they've just discovered that the universe is quite frankly twice that age. So all of the science that I've just brought to you and wasted your time with for the past 5 minutes and 11 seconds is going to change. And that's why I wanted to bring that to your attention. And I'm sorry to make you watch so much of it. But yeah, science changes. It's an amazing thing. The only thing that hasn't changed is math. 1 and 1 is still 2. It's been like that since you've been throwing rocks at each other. But science is constantly changing. Science is a means of acquiring knowledge. So you cannot say science is going to be permanently correct every time, because it's the gaining of knowledge. As you gain knowledge, the exact opposite happens. Everything changes. So when someone gets up in front of the TV, like a Dr. Fauci, and says, we're following the science, what they're telling you is they're screwing you, because science can't be followed, because it's learning, a learning of something. That's what science is. And it should never be followed. It should be ingested and then looked at seriously, and then do anything as quickly as what happened with COVID, in my opinion. And now we're getting to Neil's favorite subject.
Hello, everybody. Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be talking about the only platinum.
I'm gonna give him a thumbs up. This is Treasure Town. I am not subscribed, but I give him a thumbs up, and I already shared. He's got 226,000 subscribers, and he is going to tell us the only platinum coinage in the world, as I have already told you guys, is Russia from 1828 to 1845 in the quad metal experiment, which I've also told you guys about. No one seems to know about because it happened in a BRICS country. So it's not history. Unfortunately, it is history. You can't separate history from economics that you like and dislike. And this is actual evidence that platinum has been used as money. And there is an experiment out there that they worked on and gained knowledge from. And it is possible that they could use platinum as money once again.
Coins that ever circulated or at least were produced for circulation. These are going to have been found in Russia, and they have an extremely interesting backstory. They're quite valuable today, though attainable for somebody who can spend a few $1,000s for a coin. And I just think that they're one of those standout coins where it's worth sitting back and, in my case, digging deep so that I can present to you and that you can understand just the story of the only circulating platinum coins in the world. So let's dive right in, and I'm going to illustrate this with both text and also some photos of these 3, 6, and 12 ruble coins that Russia started
We also have
minting
a
in about
24
1828.
gram ruble coin.
Gold, silver, other metals had been discovered long time ago. Platinum was really first used widely in perspective in the 1700s, had been discovered. Maybe it would be used in like Spanish forks, but there wasn't a ton of ways to monetize it. And additionally, it was really just thought of as occurring in South and Central America. So like Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, sort of those types of areas. But they found some platinum in Siberia, and Tsar Nicholas I decided to mint them platinum coins. And I guess it made sense because if you've got this precious metal, you don't really know how to monetize it or do much with it. You can literally make it part of your currency. And we see this one sold for about $1,680 in XF45. This was a much lower selling coin, some damage to it. But the 3 ruble denomination were the ones that were made for circulation. So again, they did do 6 and 12 ruble coins, but those were mainly handed out as collector pieces or for presentation pieces to other governmental officials or people outside of Russia. But the coins were made just out of pure platinum. It's a much harder metal and relatively rare, so they didn't alloy it. And they did a weight standard of 10 grams for the 3 ruble coins, meaning that platinum was about half as valuable as gold, and were minted in the St. Petersburg Mint. But again, this one's selling for 660. The 3 rubles, here's a proof-like strike, super pristine, and obviously the value goes way up for something like this. But while platinum was super hard,
that coin goes for $17,625. If you're wondering why no one ever talks about platinum coinage, look at the price of this at the bottom where my cursor is. 2017, it sold for $17,625 for one 3 ruble platinum coin.
To the point of not needing an alloy, which maybe you'd think of it as an advantage, it also meant that the rubles were super challenging to actually mint out of platinum. The dyes would break down a lot faster. It was just a much more involved process as opposed to working with something like gold or silver. And that was a big part of the reason that they decided to stop producing them. There was also
and that's very important what he just said. The technology at the time made it hard for them to mint that. But its technology has changed. We actually mint a platinum 1 ounce coin very successfully. Had they had the technology that we have now, there would be more platinum coins in circulation. So technology has a play in whether or not platinum will be used as money.
The idea that, did they really want a quad metallic standard? I'll get into that in just a little bit. But here we see a 6 ruble coin where the floor is probably nearer to like $10,000 or $15,000. In Mint State, this one sold for $48,000. But yeah, they weren't as functional for these larger coins. And they had always been using gold for large value coins. Silver was sort of a medium ground and bronze for low value, very much like the United States. Introducing this new platinum coinage system, it wasn't something back then. It meant much more, do you accept the value of what's inside these coins? it's not like everybody's using fiat money that's not really backed by any precious metal. So in this case, it makes sense that a lot of people are skeptical. Maybe they even believe in the platinum itself, but they're not sure that the next person will. So when there's any question about the sort of how good quality money is, then there's a lot more hesitancy to accept it. And because of that, they were demonetized along with the difficulties striking them, and were ordered to be sent back to the Russian mint to be melted. They minted about 1.3 million of these coins. Now, almost all of those were going to be the 3 rubles again, as opposed to the 6 or 12. Here we see a 12 ruble coin that's a details grade, still sold for 56,000. If you have a 6 or 12 ruble coin, it's going to be enormously valuable.
This coin here, 12 ruble in 2018, sold for $84,000. Again, if you want to know why you don't see them at your local coin shop, and quite frankly, while most of your PM coin experts don't know about this coin, it's because they don't have the money to know about that coin, or they chose not to do a true historical search on platinum that was used as money, like I did.
I really like all of these just because it's a really good example of something totally unique in the numismatic world, but far fewer than that 1.3 million number survived. People probably just would have wanted to get their relatively valuable rubles and convert them into usable money. So it makes a lot of sense that there are still a fair amount out there, or that there aren't a lot out there. I believe that there were a few hordes or like large groups, and they've dissipated since that were traded a little while ago. But the floor is about $1,500. This one, 84,000 for a nice mint state example. But in terms of the aftermath, what's been going on today, the Imperial State Bank stored those coins through 1872. And then they were, like I mentioned, split up, sent to 3 refiners, Johnson Matthey, which is now JM Bullion, the bullion company.
Johnson Matthey, huh? So Johnson Matthey is now JM Bullion. That's interesting to know. See, you learn different things when you start doing informational searches on like platinum coins. I just found out that Jason Matthey, and it says right here, or Johnson Matthey, used to be, it is what we now know as JM Bullion. I never knew that.
Coinison and Heraeus, and there was platinum, there's value in the platinum, and a lot of these ended up getting melted anyways. Now, interestingly, there was a commemorative for the Moscow 1980 Olympics that, used the platinum 150 rubles to commemorate, but they weren't made for circulation. It was just sort of a way to pay tribute to some of their earlier coinage. This one sold for $720, but very closely linked to the platinum value. But a really interesting story to sort of follow, give you a brief update on. I figure why, I'm not going to drag the video out longer than it needs to be, but something.
Hey, I'm going to end this video for him. I just wanted to show some stuff on platinum because I am a prince of platinum and enjoy knowing everything about platinum, even those things that numismatics experts don't know. Although I am not a numismatic when it comes to platinum. Well, I'm more so than any other numismatic out there. Anyhow, seems like I've lost everyone. So I'm going to end this stream. You guys have a great night, and I'll talk to you later.